Alright, on this one I want to look at some of the text effects we can do with linked text, specifically how it relates to timers. So with ProPresenter 7, you used to only have your timer linked in under message, so you could have the message and there was a timer option in here, and that allowed you to show your message on the screen, and then you could have your countdown, and you had to control it separately through this messages. So now that they have timers added in, you can control your timers and set them up from here, though you don't really even have to use this menu. With the linked text, you can do it all through the slide. So let's go ahead and add a text box. Let's say it's a countdown, so we'll add it down to like the bottom right corner here. In doing so, you could have the text go to the bottom, justify, and to the right so that it stays in that corner. Maybe give it a little padding away from the edge there. Now, while that sounds cool, if you're using a font like Arial, that won't work so well, because as it's counting down, a 7 is a lot wider than a 1. So then the font will slightly move back and forth as it's counting down. So if you're going to right justify it, then you need to make sure, actually if you're going to do anything but a left justify, you need to make sure that the font is like a Courier New or more of like a Unicode kind of font, where it is more blocky and all has the exact same size, where each font takes up the exact same pixel space, in which case it'll look a lot better. So for this example, we'll do that, and we'll select Courier New, if I can find it. There it is. And that's more of our block style text, where everything will be the same size. So we've got Courier New, we've got it right justified, we've got it bottom justified, and we're going to apply a linked text effect. So our source, in this case, is going to be one of our countdown timers. So we'll use this countdown 1. And then here you can select the format. So typically your countdown might not last an hour, so we can just get rid of that. Some people like the milliseconds, some people find it distracting. We'll go ahead and leave it there for now. You can also play around with the color triggers, so we can say, hey, at 20 seconds, let's make it orange. And then maybe at 10 seconds, let's say, let's change the color to kind of a red. Alright, so then if we just go into the slide and do show, nothing's going to happen. We see our timer down there. Yeah, let me make that bigger. Okay, so we see our timer down there, and it's just stuck at 10. It's like, wait, how do we start it? Why isn't it doing anything, right? So you go from the show menu, you can right-click on the slide itself, and you can apply an action to it. So for us, that action is going to be timer countdown 1. So then it pops up this little dialog, and we can tell it what we want that action to be. So we want the action to be start. So we want it to start countdown 1, and then this is where we get to tell it what we want that countdown timer to be. So let's say, let's do 25 seconds so we can see our effect work. So then we click away. Now we have an action applied. So now when we click the slide, it's going to start counting, and you'll see once it hits 20, it's going to turn to orange, like our color effect that we applied to it. And then as it gets to 10, it will do the same again and hit 10 seconds. Or I'm sorry, and hit the red effect that we did to it. So then at the end of the timer, it will stop, and the timer will just stay there at zeros. And that's fine. You can leave it that way if you want to. You can also tell it to clear it at that point. So if we go back into edit and we select our timer, we can go to the shape and tell it how we want it to show. So if we click on this visibility option, it says object is shown when all of the following conditions are met. So we can set a condition here. So in our condition, we can say timer countdown 1 has time remaining, then that means it'll show. Or is running, that'll mean it'll show. So that means that before it starts, if we have a timer set for 5 minutes but it hasn't started yet, then if we do is running, it'll only show once it starts. If we do has time remaining, then it'll show regardless of if it started or stopped, as long as they're is more than 0 seconds left. So in this example, we'll do the is running. And so now if we go to the show, we're going to clear this tab. We have our start action set, so it is going to be running. So as soon as it started running, it'll show. And as it gets to 0, in fact, let's edit our countdown timer to 5 seconds. Okay, so as it gets to 0, we're going to see it disappear because the visibility was set to only show when there was time remaining. Similarly, let's say we start it again, but we go to the timer and we stop it. So you can play around with the different visibility options. If we wanted it to still show even if it has time remaining, then we would do this one. And then if we click on it and we stop this timer, since there's still time remaining, it'll still show there. So just a cool way we can handle, might seem a little more complicated than past ways, but this new way of handling timers makes it a lot easier, where you don't have to try to scramble and click on menus while you're trying to make sure your timer is running. You can set it all up beforehand with a little extra work, and then it'll run automatically for you and do exactly what you want it to do. So pretty cool improvement in ProPresenter 7. And another thing you can do to make the timer even more useful for you, or these countdowns, if you know you're going to have a countdown every day, you can create a new theme. So actually we're just going to go in here and edit one of ours. So I created an actual countdown theme here, and I have a visibility thing set here for our logo, and our logo will pop in when the countdown timer has expired. So it'll come up and show our church logo as soon as this countdown closes, and you could even add another font or another image that says something like please find your seats or something like that once the countdown reaches 0. So same thing, we have a countdown timer here with the visibility set. It's a linked text to our countdown timer number 1, and it's in a template. So now if we were to say come over here to our main slide, let's get rid of everything we just did. Now if we go to show and we right click this guy and select our theme for countdown that we created, it's automatically going to throw all that in there for us, so we don't have to edit that and do that every time. It's just there and ready to go. It already has the preferences that we like, and I still have that action set to the 5-second timer, so it's going to do whatever the theme tells it to do as far as the timer orientation and stuff. So very cool feature, makes it where you don't have to play with it every week. It'll always be exactly how you said it the last time if you want it that way. And you could still make a quick edit to it if you wanted to, and say, hey, I like that, but I want to change the font, or let's say maybe I don't want these color triggers, then you can get rid of those too somehow. Oh, you actually have to select them and hit delete on the keyboard, looks like. So, then you could make changes to your template, even though it did most of the work for you. Now it looks like you want it to look for this specific time. So, a great new feature.